Hello and welcome to, I think this one is number 7 of the day of the International Women's Day. Little drop-in talks from the Women's Awards, and me, Sandra Pollock, founder of the Women's Awards. Thank you for joining me. And if you're one of those that have continued to join us all the way through the day, much appreciated. During today, I've been talking to some of my friends and acquaintances, both male and female, about International Women's Day and what it means. There is so much conversation that could possibly take place from all sorts of different angles and views around women's diversity, equality, gender pay, all sorts of different things. And unfortunately, we don't have enough time to go into all of them in one day. That's why the Women's Awards, we celebrate women all year long. But you can see my next guest. I was going to say next victim, but I don't want to scare him away. Don't want to scare him away. So my next guest, which is the last guest for today. I am meeting with, I have at least one more person tomorrow to share, so I'll be back again tomorrow. But my guest right now is Simon Jones, and Simon is Strategic Program Director, Fuel Sales at Johnson Matthey. Have I pronounced that?
Johnson. I tend to say Johnson Matthey. I think
Matthey. Okay. Yeah. Okay. There you go. Thank you. And I'm brilliant for getting names wrong. I think it's one of the things I do best. So welcome, Simon, to our chat. Thank you for reaching out, and I should embarrass him even further, because when I put a little thing out there on social media that I said I'm looking for some guys to come and talk to me, and Simon reached out, which is superb. But that's not the first time we've met, is it?
It isn't. No.
No. Go on. So, tell us. Well, remind me.
I guess the first time we talked would have been 15 years ago, maybe. And at the time, I was looking for some help, which you kindly gave me, and I was in a relatively junior management position. I had a high potential female colleague working for me, and she was looking for help in how do you navigate your way as a female in what was a male-dominated environment, and an engineering company. How do I make my way through that? And to be honest, while she asked me the question, I felt pretty unequipped to answer and to help her. And what we came to the conclusion was, actually, let's find somebody who can really help you with that. And we put a call out there, and I think it was through the Institute of Management, the Chartered Institute of Management at the time. And you came to our rescue, and you helped us out and taught both of us a great deal in terms of what it means to be a woman in that environment, and how to navigate and how to progress. So we were very grateful.
Thank you, and thanks for recounting that story, because sometimes people think that I only talk to women, and I just don't really talk. But one of the things I do is to go in organizations and talk to the organizations, but also talk to managers and directors and individuals about how do you navigate, what do you do, and what can you do as a business, as an organization, to begin to make a difference, but to support both your male and female staff in dealing with the issues around diversity, equality, inclusion, all of those sorts of things, and I delight in doing that, as well as lots of other things that I do, lots of other hats that I wear. So let's start with you, Simon. What does International Women's Day mean to you? Now, you shared something when you reached out to me that I thought was so cute, and I'm going to make you do it again. So what was it that you wrote to me and told me when you reached out?
Well, I guess to sort of give you my background tells you why it's important to me. And so I'm, first of all, most importantly, I guess I'm father to 3 daughters. They're 10, 11, and 14. And clearly they're ready to take on the world. And honestly, they're also being encouraged by their mother, who, despite being the clinical director of a hospital and just having completed a PhD, often muses to me that she might try doing another degree and changing her career to being a lawyer, which I think she's serious, and I guess we're, in that respect, I'm concerned about the ambition and bravery and determination that we're unleashing on the world with those four very important women in my life. So, and I guess, in having daughters, it changes your perspective somewhat. So if you didn't get it before, you know that what you want for your daughters is equity and opportunity. And the equity is having that opportunity, and so it becomes a very important personal crusade, shall I say, for you, to ensure that they are not discriminated against for any reason, and in this case their gender. And so by that measure, International Women's Day takes on a very, very new meaning for any father, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I like the phrase you said. I've changed, something like, I've changed from being a believer to an activist. So what is the difference in your opinion?
So I think that it's very easy, and I would say that this was exactly where I was. It's very easy to nod and say, I absolutely agree that this is definitely how things should be. There should be an equity of pay and rights and gender balance. That's fine. I agree with that. But what you need to recognise from a male perspective, you don't see the privilege you have as a male, and therefore, if you don't understand it, then you don't really understand the fact that you need to lean in and you need to take action, because nodding passively on the sidelines doesn't change anything. It's the proactive stepping in and supporting that makes the difference. And it's not about women fighting this fight alone. You have to have both male and females saying, this is what we want. We want to bring everybody to an equity.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. Absolutely. So in your role as a director, because one of my earlier guests was Professor Clive Fraser from he's a professor of economics at the University of Leicester. And one of the things he was saying that, what businesses need to do is to create different opportunities and more opportunities to allow the equity to take place. So being a director, that kind of puts you in quite, I'm making an assumption, and if I'm incorrect here, you can correct me. But I'm sort of making the assumption that you are in a position to make a difference because you're amongst the decision makers for your organization. So how does that influence you in terms of your thinking on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I think you've got to recognise the responsibility that you have as an individual, and that's also to recognise that you don't always get it right. I really like the fact that the International Women's Day theme this year is choose to challenge. Okay, so I guess where I'm reflecting on that personally is, yes, you can challenge those around you, but actually you need to challenge your own unconscious biases. You need to challenge what it is that you do and you overtly do. And I to recollect a point where I didn't get it right. Not so long ago, we were looking for a fairly senior position. We'd got a list of candidates, and it was my then boss, lady, who said, "This is great, but what about the diversity?" She meant that in all terms, but actually, it was very male heavy, and it's to pick out those moments that you have the opportunity to influence and say, I've got to recognise for myself where where that unconscious bias is, and lean in and make the difference. And you have to be active. We have a fantastic diversity network within Johnson Matthey. So to be active within that, to listen to your female colleagues in terms of what they're saying, but also to understand the basis of your industry. We talk a little bit about, I'm working within a science and engineering business. There are, if you take 11-year-olds, 50% of the females within an 11-year-old bracket would say that being an engineer or a scientist sounds like a terrific career to follow. We get to 17 or 18, and we've got 20% of females in a physics class, 80% male. But those females will outperform their male counterparts in all STEM subjects in most cases, and continue to do so through their degree. But we still end up with only 15% of engineers being female. So you've got to actively index towards those female engineers, and that's the reality. And why wouldn't you when they're doing such fantastic things?
Yes, yeah. And a lot of that is about helping them see how good they are, because unfortunately the wider society is still in a position where the messages that women and young women of all ages get are not as supportive and as encouraging as could be. So it's almost like we're fighting against ourselves in terms of that message. So,
and I think that there's something there in understanding and celebrating different things. That's part of International Women's Day, right? There is a difference between the genders, but there's also an understanding there. So it's a sort of a well repeated fact that women tend to need to be more certain in the job profile, something like 70% certain about a job profile before they'll apply, whereas men, frankly, 10 or 15%, we're going to give it a go. But that means that how you manage talent within your business is an important thought process. So actually, you might need to talk to those high potential ladies around you to say, I think that you're ready to go for this, and give the encouragement, give the support, and recognize that that's okay. Because I say we have such talent, and we want to make sure that they have the right guidance and the right leadership.
Otherwise you're losing that amazing talent, not only for the individuals, but also for the business. And my thing is also for the nation as well, because if something's there and someone's talented and they're not being used, well, nobody gets the benefit of that. So tell me, you mentioned that when we spoke many moons ago, you were in a I don't want to say a lower level position, but you're in a more junior management role, and so you've come through the ranks. What sort of changes have you seen across the sector generally in terms of women's, how women are being promoted or not promoted or progressing, that sort of thing? What changes have you seen?
I'm lucky in the company that I work for. I guess time passes, but I also within Johnson Matthey, I've been privileged to work almost for the entirety of the 6 or 7 years I've been there for really knock your boots off, outstanding female leaders. And I think that it is a cultural aspect within a business, but very very clearly it's a self-recognition that has occurred within Johnson Matthey, but businesses more widely, that we do need those gender equality networks, those equality networks that we have, the diversity groups that we have, to make sure that we are doing the right thing to keep ourselves in check, to make sure that we're driving through that talent. I talk about the female leadership that I've had and been privileged to have. But I have no doubt that those women also have and I know that they're very active in the space of encouraging other female engineers and scientists and leaders of the future to be part of that ambition, and they are the role models. So it's clearly a more diverse industry than it was when I started 15, 20 years ago. But undoubtedly, particularly my experience within Johnson Matthey is that we do some terrific things to make sure that we hold ourselves to account, and that we're striving to make it absolutely as equitable as it can be.
So you mentioned that you have not that I'm trying to sell your business here, or that I want to for free. But so what are some of the changes in terms of, you said you've got diversity groups. What are some of the changes that your organization has sort of taken on to support women?
Well, I think we talk about that leadership and that very active participation in gender equality networks, and talk about the equality networks more generally. And just slightly off topic, I'm part of a reverse mentoring group at the moment. So I have a mentor, lady mentor from in the business, and we talk on a very regular basis to very openly to understand her experiences and how I can do better as a senior manager within the business. So educating people in senior management positions to really understand the experiences that simply you haven't had.
Yes.
There's as a white middle class, middle-aged male, you're not in a position to appreciate everything that any other diverse group has been through, and probably least capable of understanding that. So to have that reflection, to have that opportunity to discuss that openly is, probably the single most eye-opening experience I've had personally, and the ability then to act on that.
That's amazing, because I know this reverse mentoring is relatively new, and from my experience, it's one of those things that some organizations was like scared to do because they don't quite understand it. But the benefits, as you've outlined, are can be quite amazing in terms of informing, understanding, and seeing the world from a different perspective. So as we sort of look to sort of tie things up, what would the future look like in terms of women's progression in any respect? It doesn't always necessarily have to be career oriented, but what does the future look like for you on this topic?
Well, in my world, it looks very female dominated, and rightly so. I think what's International Women's Day all about really? It's nice to celebrate the women in your life, the daughters and mothers and partners, and rightly so. That's fantastic. But it is also about reflection on almost the need. The greatest thing would be for it to be redundant in itself, because that would mean that there was true equity, and there was no gender comparison that we need to be making. We'd be just talking about great people regardless of whether they were male or female, and clearly that has a global resonance. We're in some ways we're very lucky in this country, and in some other ways we've got far more to do. And I think that it just has to be about continued progress, and making our next generation of daughters and nieces, or whatever your relation is, brave. Show them the right role models who clearly exist around us, particularly when I look at my own company. And the progress will be there, but the more that we can do as the other sex, as males, to support that and make it go quicker, I think that's where the real power.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I am really proud of your daughters and your wife because they're changing the world.
Yeah, they certainly
Changing
are.
the world in their little corner by
Is
themselves. Yes.
the world ready for them?
Well, you make sure that they that that the world sees them coming, and that we pull our socks up when they step out. That would be superb. Is there any last comment that you'd like to leave, in terms of thoughts or ideas or anything at all? What would your last parting comment be?
I think it's to every man out there, which is it is that choose to challenge yourself, and choose to really think about how not only that you see the support for women, but what you can do to support those women to be absolutely have the same opportunity, the same equality, same equity, the same opportunities that you do.
That's wonderful. I like that. Thank you very much. Well, Simon, thank you. I've thoroughly enjoyed listening to you and talking, and I hope that it's been beneficial for you as well. And this is just a reminder from me, everybody, that the women nominations for the Women's Awards is open. They're open. We have lots of categories. So think about amazing men and women. Yes, there is one category for men as well, and nominate again this year, and let's celebrate the change in and the progression in diversity and equality that is going on, albeit slow, but we're here to speed it up, as as Simon said. That's what we need to do. Simon, thank you so much for joining me, and
Sandra.
I hope we continue to talk in future.
Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. So until next time, I will be back again tomorrow with at least one more chat. If you want to get involved, then reach out to me. It would be good to get you on the station, as it were, and hear your views as well. So ta-da for now.